There is comfort in repetitive movement. A yogi would say, I am practicing yoga. Perfection is never the goal. The process and what we learn about ourselves along the way is what matters. Stitching is like that. We carefully select our fabric, choose just the right floss, and we gather our tools, the scissors and needles. Then we take a seat in our favorite chair and begin to stitch. The needle goes into the fabric and comes back out. It goes in and comes back out. Stitch by stitch, we make beauty and find comfort as we stitch. Yeah, look at that, Archie. Can you look at the camera and say, hi, everybody? Maybe not. Oh, there. Look at all that. Oh, no. There. Let everybody see your handsome face. Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie. This is Archie. Archie has his own fan club out there, so I think you'd all be kind of upset if I didn't show you and let you say hi to Archie. Nice to see you guys. I think he's secretly happy too. He would be. He really would be. There he is. Hi, Arch. All right. How are you guys doing? Gosh, let me straighten up my chair. Long time no see. Happy 2025. Isn't it amazing? 2025 already. Gosh, the last year flew by. And it's been a while since I've seen you. I took an extra week between filming this time. Usually I try and do every 3 weeks, but it was 4 because holidays. But anyway, hi, I'm Jackie. Welcome to FlossTube episode number 11 of my channel called Comfort Stitching. This is a channel all about cross stitch and other things that I'm interested in too. And welcome aboard. I probably have some new people here today. And thank you so much for joining along and subscribing, and everybody for that matter, for your likes and subscribes and shares and shout outs. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't believe how much has happened since the last time that I saw you. Like, a lot got compressed in these 4 weeks. So I will catch you up as we go along today. It is Saturday, January 4th. The big news around here is we've got our first major winter storm brewing, set to wallop us. And of course that remains to be seen, but that's supposed to happen tomorrow. So today everybody was coming to the bank because I had to work this morning at the bank. And so everybody felt like, of course, they needed to do all the things that they could have done several days before the storm hits. But it always, last minute, everybody thinks of the stuff that they probably will need if we do get impacted with the amount of snow that they say is going to come. And gosh, depending on the weather forecast you look at, we could get anywhere from 3 inches of snow to 22 inches of snow. That's a big range. So who knows what will happen? And this is Missouri. It will change. Actually, we might get 8 to 12. We can deal with that. But 22, I can't even recall. I've lived in Missouri for 40 years. Started out in Northwest Illinois, so I know snow. But, and all the time I've lived here, we've never got hit with 22 inches of snow all at one time. So it'd be a pretty powerful storm if that's what happens. But if it does, you know, we'll deal with it. And thankfully it's happening on a Sunday. So today's Saturday, let's talk about some cross stitching. I have, like I said, so much to share with you since I saw you last. Right after I filmed last, that was December 8th. And on December 12th, and then again a week later, I get to meet 2 of you guys. That was so exciting. Renee, who a lot of people know, she's on Instagram. She doesn't do FlossTube, but she seems to know a lot of people. Renee is Prairie Stitcher 515, I believe is her IG. I'll put it here, on Instagram. And she lives up in Iowa, about 4 hours away from here. And last October, I had a Stitchy day that I co-hosted with my friend Gretchen in the shop Floraligium here in Weston, Missouri, where I live. And Renee wanted so badly to come to that and had a scheduling conflict. So we have been in communication through instant messaging, and she really wanted to come down before the end of the year to meet me and to stitch with me. So we had prearranged that she would get to come down for an afternoon. And her husband Steve came, and we met and had a lovely lunch, and then spent the afternoon talking and stitching and laughing, and just had such a great time. I'm going to pop a picture, I think, up here at some point as I'm talking about this, of me and Renee. Such a good time. I hope we get to do that again. And if you ever get a chance to meet Renee, you're going to enjoy her so much. And lovely stitching too. So that was great. And then a week later, I had the pleasure of meeting another fellow stitcher, Instagram friend, and FlossTube celebrity, if you will, Celeste of Celeste Creates. And again, I'll put a picture up. Celeste and I have been in communication for a while, because once she learned where I was from, she said, hey, my kids have gone to college just up the road from you, and I'm going to be coming up there in December to help move my daughter home for the break, and I would love to meet you. So Celeste and I couldn't really work out an opportunity to spend much time together, but she really wanted to stop by and say hi. So she came to my work. She just popped into the bank when she had some time, and we got a chance, all too brief, to chat. And I just know we would have so much to talk about. So Celeste and Renee, thank you so much for taking the time and coming by to see me. And you know, you get to meet so many great people through this hobby of cross-stitching and this medium of FlossTube. We get to know each other, and I'm so excited to see what the new year holds with regard to all of that. And of course, plans. They'll be coming down the road later on in the video. I've got the usual things to share today. You know, what I've been working on. I have two new starts. I have a finish, which, you know, if you follow me on social media, you'll know what that big finish is. I finished my Bridget Power sampler, which, yes, I'm happy to have it finished, but it was such a bittersweet feeling to put those last stitches into Bridget and to sort of conclude this little chapter of the relationship that she and I have, because it's not done yet. And we'll talk more about that when we get to that. And man, the other big thing that happened the very same day that Celeste came to the bank to meet me, I got home from work that day and got my mail, and this was in the mail. Some of you have this, some of you have seen this, and on page 34, ta-da, my little channel name was shouted out in Just Crossstitch magazine. And I was so honored when they reached out to me to get permission to put my name in here. They have this little just place in here where they have a reader Q&A, and this little place where they put my channel name was called Favorite Finds from Stitchers. So somebody obviously told them about me, or maybe they stumbled on my channel, I don't know. But they just asked if it would be okay if they would put my channel name. They said how much they enjoyed my content, and they thought other people might too, and wanted to put my name in there, and sent me this issue as a gift. So thank you so much to Just Crossstitch magazine for that. You see Archie there? Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Just Crossstitch magazine. So if some of you are just finding me for the first time because of that, thank you for being here and for giving my channel a try. I hope you like what you find and will stay. And one of the beautiful things about FlossTube, cross-stitching too, is that there's just such a variety of things to appeal to anybody's taste. And FlossTube is no different. We're all so different and have unique and interesting things to share. And if you don't like one, plenty more to choose from. So I hope you'll stick around and give me a try if you're new today and just checking out my channel. So gosh, so Renee, Celeste, just cross stitch, all within the span of a week. What else could happen, right? So I did, like I said, have a new start, or 2 new starts, and that finish, and I've got progress. And the new start happened because it was the solstice. And so I'm going to jump around with what I'm showing you today, just simply because it kind of might go in more like chronological order rather than an order of, let's do all the whips, let's do all the starts, let's do all the finishes. So I'm just going to go along in the order in which things happened. So, so that one new start was a stitch along that I've talked to you about before, that Sarah of Sew Me Sarah and I are doing. It's for the Barbara Anna 4 Seasons chart. It's a free chart, and I'll put a picture of that up. I have my paper chart, but it's getting a little mangled up from showing it to you so much. But we decided to do this stitch along, or maybe start with us if you don't end up stitching with us. But we decided to do this in conjunction with the 4 seasons, and starting on the solstices and the equinoxes. So the winter solstice happened on December 21st of 2024. And we started the Winter Girl, and here's my start of the Winter Girl. I didn't get too far. This is just one stitchy session because I've been working on some other things since I began. But this is being stitched on a 40 count linen that is the color Sapphire, and I believe that's by Fiber on a Whim. I've decided to do all 4 of my girls on a different colored backgrounds. And I have had to adjust my floss just a little bit in order for the colors to work on this beautiful blue fabric. But that is the beginning of my 4 Seasons, Barbara Anna 4 Seasons stitch along. And we did come up with a Instagram hashtag for it. It's BA, the number 4 Seasons Sal. And while Instagram doesn't work anymore really to follow hashtags from what I understand, they're always jacking around with the hashtags. But they are searchable. So I know a lot of you are stitching along with us, and it's been great to see your progress. And if you are stitching with us, I hope when you post progress that you will tag both Sarah, she is Sew Me Sarah on Instagram, and me. I'm at Jax444 on Instagram, and I'll put links for all of this in the description box. But please do tag us when you're posting your progress pictures. That way we'll be sure to be able to see what you're doing. And it's been so fun already. The background fabrics you're choosing are all different. We had one gal who's also doing a blue background, not the same dark blue that I have, but she did a different blue, and she changed the colors of her girl's dress, put some dark blue and some green in there. It was really beautiful. So you guys are just doing some fun stuff. Thank you for sharing and stitching along with us. I'm looking forward to getting back to her and getting a little more work done on her. So that's to come. So if you're doing that with us, like I said, we started on the solstice, and we're not going to start the next one until the spring equinox. So you've got some time, and we purposely set up this stitch along that way to give you some time between, just like to work these into your already probably busy stitching schedule. We know that everybody has a lot of fun things that they're working on, and we didn't want to have it be a burden to do something with us, but we also just wanted to do something fun. So anyway, that's the Barbara Anna 4 Seasons sale. So that's one of my new starts. So that happened. And then I'm looking at my notes. Then I worked on just the other things that I had in progress. If you're new today, I'm not a person who has a lot of whips. I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4. I used to consider myself more a monogamous stitcher, but that was early in my stitching this go round, because I've just been stitching again since the beginning of 2023. I used to do it like a lot of people did in the 80s and 90s, but I just came back to stitching in early 2023. And I started with a relatively large thing that I worked on nearly all of 2023. So, you know, I was a monogamous stitcher. And then when I finished that, I wasn't sure what kind of a stitcher I was going to be. And so this has just been all a process of exploration. So I started out with a couple of things, and then I added maybe a couple more, but primarily I work on something maybe for a week at a time. I like to devote time to what I'm doing. Those of you who have a lot of whips, you make me nervous. Although it's fun to see everything, and everybody's doing whip parades right now, so there are a lot of beautiful charts and stitching being shared out there. But that kind of thing overwhelms me. So I just do better with just a handful of things at a time. I do have quite a few things kitted up and different charts that I eventually would like to do. But just as far as things that I'm working on, I just have these 4 right now. And I will definitely have another one, because there's another stitch along coming up in just a week, which I'll talk more about later. But I do better when I don't have too many things to work on, because it just seems like so much. And I just like to give things a little more time, maybe than some other people do. I don't know, but it just works better for me not to have a bunch of stuff. So another thing that I have worked on since we talked last, got my chair of whips over here, is actually another Barbara Anna design that I showed you that I had started the last time we were together. I had started this, and this is a free chart actually called Light. As I said, it's also from Barbara Anna. And I have Sarah, Sew Me Sarah, also to blame this one on. Last year, it's weird to say last year, right? Last year, she and her friend Sally both celebrated their 50th birthday. And they were doing 50 starts for their 50th year. And congratulations, ladies. They both accomplished 50 new starts last year. But this chart, this Barbara Anna Light, was one of those. And I just was really attracted to it. It's cute. Barbara Anna designs, I really like the way she just has a very distinct design style. And the colors she uses are, I think, really interesting and fun and bright. Something just kind of whimsical about what she does too. So I started that the last time we spoke, and I've worked on it quite a bit. So here is my progress. It's a purple day today. Purple day. But here's my progress on Light by Barbara Anna. And I'm following sort of a color conversion that that Sally kind of shared. Sally is stitching hers on this same purple fabric, which is from a dyer in the UK called Fabrics by Crafty Kate. And this linen is called Regal. And Kate dyed this piece for me because it was originally done as part of a fabric club. But this is being stitched on 36 count, which this is my first time stitching on 36 count. I don't think I will stitch a lot on 36 count since I'm used to stitching on 40 count and higher. 36 seems kind of big to me, although I'm enjoying this. And I am just stitching with one linen thread over two, or I mean, one floss thread over two linen threads. But in some cases, the color does look a little sparse on this fabric. But it was Sally who came up with that beautiful dark blue color for the kind of coat dress that this fox is wearing. And this is a mixture of DMC floss and a couple of fancy floss. And that blue, if you're interested in, is a classic Colorworks floss called Nighty Night. It's just a gorgeous blue that has just a little bit of variegation between almost black and the blue. And then this other color we're using, Cinnamon Toast, is what is on the sleeves and in that kind of starry, quilty star design that's on the coat and dress. And then I have come up with my own colors for the two greens. They're different, I think, than what's charted. So I'll just share those with you. The dark one is DMC 500 and the light one is DMC 502. There's some fun colors for that fox. I started that on December 1st. So yeah, I showed it to you last time with that just a bit of start. I think I had the fox and its tail and part of the dress done the last time, but a lot of the rest I've done since we've seen each other last. So again, that's Light by Barbara Anna. And that is a free chart that you can get through Barbara's Ko-fi shop that there's a link to on her Instagram page. And that's how you also get the chart for the Four Seasons Stitch Along. That one is not free, but that through her Ko-fi shop is how you get the chart for that too. And I'll put all that information in the drop-down box below, just in case anybody either wants this free chart or wants to join us. You certainly can in that stitch along. I should have said that before. You have all the time in the world to join us. Yeah, and we would love to have you. So if you're now seeing that and maybe look on Instagram to see what some other people are doing with that and you want to start, just follow the links and the information I've got in the description box to get those charts. And I'd love to have you joining us with that. So that one is Light by Barbara Anna. I've also been working on a red alphabet sampler. That one is called Antoinette, 1894 to 1896. This is a big sampler. Beautiful alphabet sampler. This one is from European Reproduction Samplers, and they are out of Germany. But I ordered this, and I think I had the chart within maybe a week to 2 weeks at the most. It really came very quickly, all the way from Germany. And it came in a plastic envelope. It has this kind of corrugated paper, cardboard as stabilizer. Everything was very safely mailed. And so anyway, that's Antoinette. And let me show you my progress on her, because I've made some noticeable progress since you've seen her last. You can get her. There. Kind of got bad light today since it's such a gloomy day. Let me see if I can get it up close. See what you're seeing there. All right. That is Antoinette. And since we saw each other last, I have put in the S, the T, and the U. I know that U looks sort of like a V, but that is the U. The V next to it, it's just slightly different. When I get that in, you'll see. And I also put in the G, and I did just a couple of bits of the garland up here. So that's Antoinette, 1894 to 1896. And I am stitching my Antoinette on 56 count linen. This color is called Shrekie's Tan. It's just a really beautiful neutral. It's showing a little bit lighter on camera than it is in real life, but it's a gorgeous color. I would definitely use this color again. Great sampler color. But this is 56 count Shrekie's Tan, and that comes from Needle Bling Designs. And I'm using Overa Soie Silk 103, and in the color number 664. So that is Antoinette. And one thing I wanted to show you, the big alphabet on here that I'm doing here, that one is seen in a lot of French samplers. I'm kind of thinking it was one that maybe was put out by the Sajou company at the time, because they did a lot of alphabet little pattern books. And I recently saw a post from the company Reflet de Soie. They put out a lot of French charts. They're based in France, but they do a lot of alphabet samplers too. And I recently saw Miriam from Reflet de Soie working on charting a new sampler, and she just finished it. She posted about it today. But her sampler had this same alphabet in it, but she was doing it in a couple of different colors. So I'm used to seeing it just in one color, and most predominantly red, because that's how a lot are done. But Miriam was doing it in kind of a gray and a red, and I'm going to put a picture of it up here because I just thought it was beautiful. And seeing it in a different colorway really kind of showed off the alphabet in a different way than when you're just seeing it in one color. So we find a lot of charts that have these beautiful French alphabets in them, and we might only think about doing them in monochromatic one color. But seeing it in two colors just gave it a whole different feeling, which I really enjoyed. Not that I don't like the red, because who doesn't love a red sampler? And a lot of people feel strongly about red samplers and like to have a red sampler going kind of all the time in their rotation. But it was just really nice to see a variation on that same alphabet, which I recognized immediately. But to see it being done in a different colorway just gave it a whole different feeling. So if that's of interest to you, that chart, go check out the Reflet de Soie Instagram or Facebook page. I think that chart might be available. If it's not available now, it's going to be available soon. So you might want to check that one out. I didn't write down the name of what the chart is, but that is definitely something to look out for if you like alphabet samplers, which I do, and if you like just a beautiful sampler, gorgeous new one from Reflet de Soie. I'm just looking at my pile over here, see where I want to go next. I think, because the logical thing would be to show you Bridget now. Okay, I will, because the next thing is like a new start. I'm going to show you the new start, and then we'll end with Bridget, because I don't know how long I'll talk about Bridget. So I'm going to just jump to a new start. So I, we had the holidays, obviously. Christmas came and went. I don't usually do anything very special on Christmas. I work with people who have kids, and I like to make sure that they all have the opportunity to take time off work around Christmas so that they can spend time with their children. And I usually just enjoy a day off with Archie, and I hardly get out of my comfy clothes. And I generally will plan a really nice meal and have a bottle of wine, talk to my sisters or maybe other friends who might call. But Christmas around here is a pretty low-key holiday. But then I always get together, and I have for probably between 25 and 30 years, I always get together with some friends for New Year's. And these friends have a little weekend place in a town a couple of hours east of where I live, in the center of Missouri, in a little blink and you miss it place called Arrow Rock, Missouri. And like I said, we've been getting together for New Year's for a long time. And Archie gets to go. He got to go too. And so we've traveled together before, these three friends, and one of our major trips that we took that we still talk about, it happened all the way back in 2005. We spent 3 weeks together in Scotland. And it's relevant because it's become part of our tradition that on New Year's Eve, we have a nice dinner, and that at 6 p.m. we do a toast to the new year, because at 6 p.m. it's already midnight in Scotland. So we just have these lovely memories of Scotland, and usually one of the gifts that's exchanged is a bottle of whiskey, and we have to open that and try it. And then, like I said, we had just a lovely dinner and just some really good company. And when you have friends that you've had for that long, they're like family. They're, you know, you don't have to pretend. You don't have to dress up. You can, again, wear your PJs all day if you want. You're comfortable enough with each other that you can talk if you want to and not talk if you don't want to. You can do your own thing and share time and be quiet if that's what you want to do too. So on New Year's Eve, I had a new start. And I did it because I was going to be traveling on New Year's Day. I had to travel back from Arrow Rock to Weston on New Year's Day because I needed to work the next day. So that's why my new start was on New Year's Eve rather than New Year's Day, like a lot of people do. And the whiskey connection will make sense here in just a minute. Not that the chart has anything to do with whiskey, but I had, for some reason, I had been really starting to look more closely at Quaker samplers. I haven't done one yet because I'm doing one now, but I've always been, found them interesting and attractive and thought, what are these about? I mean, I know, you know, the Quaker religion. I like that Quakers consider themselves friends, and I started this when I was with friends. But it, so I started looking for a Quaker sampler to do. I just decided I liked having a monochromatic sampler going on, like the Antoinette red sampler, but that I wanted maybe a monochromatic that wasn't red. And Quakers kind of fit that bill. Now, as I was researching or looking, Googling just which one I might want to do, I noticed, of course, that not all Quakers are monochromatic. There are some that are quite colorful with a variety of colors within the design. But I was kind of attracted to a monochromatic one. And I ended up settling for this Quaker sampler called the Beatrix Potter Quaker. And this is by a company called Stitchy Box. And I just downloaded a PDF, but there is a paper chart available. Now, from what I understand, this is a chart that is re-released by Stitchy Box. It wasn't first released. The copyright date for it, Stitchy Box put it out, copyright date 2017. But it was first released, excuse me, by another company. And Stitchy Box acquired the rights to it. Just looking on the notes here to see if it said anything more about that. And not much is known about this sampler. Now, Beatrix Potter did not stitch this. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, wow, Beatrix Potter. No, she didn't stitch it. But apparently she had a collection of some samplers. I haven't been able to find out anything more about that yet. But this was in her collection. The inscriptions on this, the initials, and there are some other initials in here, are not BP anywhere. So this wasn't something that was done for her. And there's not a date on this either. So I don't know what date this goes back to. But I know there are some very early Quaker samplers that go back into the 1700s. So, and if you've been here a while, you know I love a good research project. So I think it will be a fun rabbit hole to go down to learn more about Quakers. And Quaker has become kind of a broad term. There are a lot of contemporary designers who are designing charts in a Quaker style, and Quaker has become a generic term for these medallion geometric type shapes. Primrose Cottage has a series of small Quakers that are seasonal. Leela Studios does a Quaker series. So it just is something that is now going to be a research project for me, so I can find out more about these samplers and kind of how they developed. So with that said, I started, like I said, on, sorry, I got a color here that somehow made its way off the ring, that I started on New Year's Eve. And I decided to just pick a color. I was really looking through my floss and what color did I want to do it. The called for color on this is kind of almost coral. I know that's not what that chart looks like, but the called for color is DMC 356, was kind of pinky orangey, just not interesting to me. And so I just started looking through my floss, and I kept gravitating towards these kind of gold, old gold colors. So I just pulled everything in my stash, DMC and overdyed, that all was in that same color family. And I thought I would just pick and choose these as I go along with this sampler. So I started in the top center, because I usually start in the top left, but the size of this sampler is large enough that I could fit it on a fat quarter at 46 count, which I had a couple of pieces. And so I just got to start, but I had to start in the center in order to make sure I had margins for framing in the future. So here's my start. After that long-winded intro, here's my start on the Beatrix Potter Quaker. I had such a good time doing this. I know just how much fun I had doing this one medallion. I'm going to really enjoy working on this. And I really enjoyed the 46 count. That might become a new favorite. I know Audrey from Stitch Bead likes 46 count a lot. And this is my first time doing it. This color is called Moon Shadow. Just a really pretty, very light neutral. It's called Moon Shadow, and it's by Seraphim. I've stitched on a couple of other Seraphim linens before, and I've really enjoyed their linen. So it's stitching like butter, but the color sort of looked like whiskey. So on New Year's Eve, there's a picture of me on the socials, on Instagram, of me with my stitching and my little dram of whiskey that I was sipping on, and the colors matched. So I did have to frog a little bit. I had some people commenting on that picture saying, oh, you're being brave drinking and stitching. I think there'd be a lot of frogging going on. And there was a little bit. So I stopped, but I stopped for dinner. and then I picked it up. And I stitched nearly until midnight. So I got all of that done in one Stitchy session. And yeah, stitching always takes longer than you think it does. But that's my start on the Beatrix Potter Quaker sampler. I'll show that one more time, by Stitchy Box. If you want to join me with a Quaker, I noticed several people on social media were doing Quakers. So we must all be thinking along the same wavelength right now. Quakers are attractive to us. And right now, that's living in this project bag that is from Barry from Stitch Folk. I don't know if it'll stay in there. There's Quakers and tomatoes, I'm not sure they go together, but we'll see. For right now, that's a good place for it. So that's my new starts and my works in progress. And now for the big finish. So Bridget Power's 1840. If you've been with me before, you know I've been stitching on her since March of this year. This is a chart based on an antique sampler. This is the cover. This is the antique, by the way. And this is a chart from Gigi R. Bridget Power, 1840. And I know every time we talk about Bridget, oops, there's notes falling. And this picture, it's an interesting sampler based on the picture, this historical, photograph of the antique sampler. But if this is all I ever saw, I probably would never have picked this up. So just to give you a little backstory, I think it was probably, I started this in March, so I think it was probably sometime in February of 2024 that I saw an image of this, a reproduction, the reproduction, not the model, someone's reproduction, on Instagram. I was just scrolling through my Instagram feed, as you do, and I saw someone's version. She had just gotten it framed and was obviously and rightly pleased with her framed finish of this sampler. And the stitcher's name on Instagram is antique.thread. And her name is Anna. And she does some lovely stitching. And when I saw her framed finish of the Bridget Power sampler, it was basically, I was stopped in my tracks, as they say. It was as though something about that sampler, the energy of that design, that sampler reached out right here, grabbed me and said, you need to do this. That's happened to me a few times in my life. That's usually how I decide what I'm going to do. I won't say like that Quaker gave me that same feeling, but there have been a couple of times in my life where I have been so touched, if you will, by something and inspired by it that I just knew, it's like, stop what you're doing, look right here, you need to do that. And I've thought about that whole idea. You need to do that, because I've got a piece of beadwork that impacted me the same way that I'll show you at some point. But there's something about the feeling of everything, all the component parts of the thing I'm looking at come together and create an energy, create a feeling that I connect to on such a level that I know I need to recreate that and experience the doing of that. And then hopefully in the sharing of that, it might inspire someone else. So I hope that makes sense. There's a that with quotation marks around it, I guess I'll say. I needed to do that. I needed to connect with that design, the Bridget design, in a way that seeing it there was a recognition when I saw it of something that I needed to bring into my life. So we'll just say it that way. And so immediately I ordered the chart. I think I ordered it from 123 Stitch. It's a chart that's pretty readily available. And I ordered the fabric, the same fabric that Instagram poster stitched on. It's not the called for, but I ordered the same fabric, and I used the DMC called for floss, of which I had most of already in stash, and I began stitching. Now, if you have this chart, and you know, one of the things that I really like about working on samplers is that you're really connecting with history. You're connecting with a person who made something at another time. So this was 1840. And the inscription on this said, Bridget Power wrought this sampler in the 13th year of her age, in the year of our Lord, 1840. So she was 13, and I know a lot of samplers. I mean, I follow Nicola Parkman, Hands Across the Sea, and a lot of other people who reproduce samplers, and a lot of very young girls, you know, from the age of 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, are doing some just amazing, incredible needlework. And so, you know, immediately, of course, I was drawn in by the flowers, and I have a connection and an attraction to doing artwork or having things around me that have religious symbolism in them. I was brought up Lutheran, but I have an attraction to some Catholic iconography and symbols, the Sacred Heart of Jesus being one of them. I have, you might be able to see it on the corner right there, hanging from that bookcase. There's a big rosary, a wall rosary hanging there. I have a collection of rosaries, some other kind of crucifixes and things. I just am very drawn to Catholic iconography and spirituality. And so there was just a lot on the surface about this design that drew me in. What became really confounding, however, was that there, in the description that is included with this chart, there's just not any information about who Bridget was. And I've gotten spoiled by Nicola Parkman and others too, who have been able to do incredible research to find out who the girls are that stitch many of the samplers that they reproduce. And so I just started down on a quest, basically, to try and find out who Bridget Power was. And in the early days of this, if you've seen all of my floss tubes where I've been working on this will be old news to you, but I'm going to recap because, like I said, she's now finished. I reached out to some people to see if there was any more information available about Bridget. I reached out to Jean Lee of The Attic because I know Jean's a huge fan and supporter of Gigi R. I thought Jean might know something about it. She really didn't. I wrote to quite a few people to see if there was any information, and really, there's just not. And which I was surprised about. You know, you just sort of think that maybe through, you know, Ancestry.com or some of the other ways of finding information, that there might be something available. But I just kept coming up against some dead ends looking for Bridget. And so then as I worked on this, I started just looking at the details of this chart and to see if there were any identifiable motifs or things in it. So I kind of went down in each of my FlossTube episodes where I was showing progress on Bridget. I was talking about different elements and motifs in the chart that I was learning some things about. And inside the description of this chart, and Gigi is not the first person that put out Bridget Power. It was first put out by a company called Of Female Worth that is no longer in existence. And the antique sampler was originally owned by a woman named Marianne Mongillo, who had a female worth. And then it was later acquired and transferred to Gigi Reese, who is Gigi R. Now, it's my understanding that Gigi is the person who, at this time, has the antique Bridget Power sampler in her possession. I don't know that for a fact. That's just what I've been told. And I believe that Gigi is in France. Again, I don't know that for sure. I've reached out to Gigi and have not heard anything from her, so I can only go on, you know, some of the research I've done and what people have told me. So I started looking at, you know, the supposition. Let me go backtrack just a minute. The supposition about this whole sampler, and this was written in the notes that come with the chart, is that based on her name, because Bridget Power, the Power surname and the name Bridget, very common names in Ireland. The supposition was that she was Irish, and that obviously she was Catholic, because this chart has an altar prominently displayed on it. And likely it was to represent a communion service, because the grapes are stitched in the altar cloth. There's a monstrance there that holds a host. And then you've got the amazing basket of flowers. Some people look at that design as a whole and think it looks like a perfume bottle. I'm one of them who can see that there. But again, so not a lot known. You just have to kind of go on the evidence to suppose, who is Bridget and why did she make this? So that's what I did. I have since now, in all of my research, probably now we can say for certain that Bridget was Irish. That is based on the floral rosebud border. As I had been looking at a couple of books about Irish samplers and found that border in a couple of places. And then Kathleen Littleton of Crossstitch Antiques reached out to me and said, yes, Irish. She said she has done a lot of research. She has Irish ancestry, has done a lot of research on samplers as a whole, obviously. She reproduces them herself. But in her research, she said the only place she has ever seen that rosebud border was on Irish samplers. So without provenance, of course, we can't say 100% it's an Irish sampler, but pretty strongly we can say that it was an Irish sampler. So then I kind of looked at the flowers and began to wonder if they had any connection to Catholicism. And yes, they do. The different flowers depicted, many of them have the symbolism of the flowers connect them to either Jesus or the Virgin Mary. You know, there's the overt symbolism, as I said, of the altar. The draperies, not being a Catholic, the draperies always were a mystery to me, but Kathleen told me those were representative of the opening of the veil that is between us and Christ, and a tabernacle. In older times, I don't believe it's still done that way almost, although some churches might choose to, but the tabernacle generally has a little curtain that's closed in front of it. And the tabernacle, I'm sorry, for those of you who don't know, is this little structure that sits on an altar, and it generally holds a communion host that, of course, during the communion service is representative of the literal body of Christ. And so apparently at a time in times past, there was an actual curtain, fabric curtain, that would close in front of the tabernacle, and it would be opened during a communion service. So in Kathleen's opinion, those amazing red draperies, those amazing red draperies were indicative of that curtain or the veil being opened, and then the opening to draw you in, invite you in to being in communion with Christ. And Kathleen, the symbolism here too, Kathleen told me this carpet that's here, and I'm going to show you my sampler here in a sec. The carpet, though, she said the colors, all the red in this for sure, were about royalty and the, again, connection to source. So, long preamble. You've seen me working on it. If you haven't, I think I started this, I started stitching in March. So I've got FlossTube number 3, I think, or 4 maybe, that I started this. I started FlossTube in, wait, I don't know. And my colors, hang on, pause. All right, I'm back. I have the floss here. So let's see what my notes say. I started this on 3/17/24. And I finished it on 12/25, December 25th. With mostly the called for flosses, with a couple of additions. But there we go. And without further ado, I have Bridget here. I have it rolled up because I have ironed it now. And here she is. I wish I could get, let me see if I can scooch back far enough in the chair, squish my pillow for you to be able to see the whole thing. So I'll bring her up close. There are the flowers. And I know some people have begun this chart or have stitched this since I've been showing it and have just done that amazing basket of flowers. And I don't blame you. They're beautiful. So there she is in all her glory. And I've made a couple of design changes on mine. As I mentioned, I have a connection to the symbol of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, something that has appeared in dreams, and I'm just attracted to it. So I added a Sacred Heart there in the tabernacle. That's not in the original chart. And I did that in over one with some silk. And then the grape clusters in the original chart, both of them were facing the same direction. And I just felt like to balance it out a little bit more to my eye, I would flip one of those so they mirrored each other. Now also there is some over one stitching in this. The lettering and the grape clusters are all done in over one, as was the leaves with the grapes, which I did not do. I mean, I didn't do them over one. I recharted them to be over two. And then even in the original chart, those little curlicues for the grapes, vines, those curlicues, that was even stitched over one in the chart as charted. Or if the way it was charted was over one. And I remember saying when I was getting to that part that Bridget was kind of a show-off. I think from the time she started and the time she concluded, she perfected her stitching skills and got into all of this over one towards the end. Thought she would show off with all her over one. But I thought, well, those curlicues don't really need to be over one. So I ended up just doing them in some straight stitch, or what some people might know as back stitch. And they look totally fine. But I did do the grapes in over one too. So That's Bridget. I can hear you all applauding in the background. Seriously, I felt like I heard some applause. Thank you. Yeah, I finished her on Christmas. It's a bittersweet finish for me because I have been working on this for so long. Well, I mean, it feels like a long time. Maybe it is for some of you, but the lettering down here, the over one, was some of the last that I put in, and I was doing, not her name I had already in, but one of these words over here I was working on Christmas Day. And over the months that I've been working on this, I have said many times that I have felt like I have been in a relationship with Bridget. But obviously it is emotional for me because I really do feel like that. I have felt her here on numerous occasions. And not to get all woo-woo-y with you, but it really does, I really do feel like I know her. Like she has been part of me, and even like a family member I've come to feel about her. And on Christmas, when I was working on that lettering, there were 3 distinct occasions where I could energetically feel like a hand on my back, or that I was being hugged as I was doing that. And it was such a strong feeling that I had tears come to my eyes 3 different times when I was working on that lettering. So obviously Bridget has touched me very deeply. And I have been trying to find her, and a couple of other people have been doing ancestry research to try and find her. And we've come up empty-handed because going down conventional roads to find her have just not given us any answers. There were so many Bridget Powers in Ireland that without more information, it's just hard to know which could be her. And so I will tell you that I have been given some different information about her that came to me in a non-conventional way. And it is not verifiable yet. And so I still have some dots to connect. So I'm hoping that at some point I can talk more about that. But I just feel like right now, if I were to tell you about it without being able to verify it, it would just be an interesting story about a girl in Ireland. And to me, it makes perfect sense from what I've come to know about Bridget through stitching her and feeling her. And maybe I'll just write it down as a story and share it with you, and then you can choose how you want to receive it. But like I said, it came to me through some unconventional means, and I need to connect a few more dots before I feel like I can share the whole thing. So for now, that's the conclusion of Bridget Power, 1840. Let me just show her one more time. And I did show her on I posted it obviously on Instagram when I finished it, but I belong to a sampler Facebook group and it's a group of very knowledgeable sampler stitchers and people who reproduce samplers Facebook group, and posted it on there, and I've gotten some amazing comments. And one person even said they have had experience in their life where they've worked on samplers and that some samplers really do have a unique voice to them. And it doesn't always happen, but other people confirmed that there were times in their lives when they worked on a sampler that they really did have a connection to. And I hope I have one again, but if not, this one certainly has changed me. I will never forget this experience of working on this particular historical reproduction. And I am going to take her. People have asked me if I will have her at Sampler Symposium in January. And yes, I will. She will be traveling to Arizona with me. And again, I think about a 13-year-old girl in 1840. What would her reaction be to know that people in 2024 know about her, are recreating that sampler or pieces of that sampler? There are probably more people that know about Bridget Power now than ever did when she was alive. And that's one of the other, I think, interesting things about working on a historical sampler is that a person made that. That is a tangible connection to a person and their life. They lived. And especially a girl or a woman in a time like that, they didn't have any agency. They, in some cases, like in a census or something, they were just, a family member, a household. It was the men who had all the power. And maybe the only mark that they could leave in the world was their stitching. And we have that today to be able to connect to. So yeah, I will never forget Bridget. And you'll see her again once I get her framed, which I won't do until after Sampler Symposium, because it'll be hard to travel with a framed sampler. And not to mention Sampler Symposium is in 2 weeks. I wouldn't get it framed then. But if the attic has the right molding, I might leave it down there to be framed. I'm not sure. We'll see. But again, I have a specific frame in mind. The one that Instagram poster that influenced me so much posted was a beautiful frame. If I could find that, I would. And we'll see what it comes up with. But anyway, thank you for going along on my journey with Bridget. I know I've gotten so many amazing comments from you guys along the way as you've tried to help me find her, tried to help me research her, come up with ideas of who she might have been, what she might have done, the life she might have lived. It's really been a fun process. And we've learned about Ireland, and thank you for letting me share that whole process with you. And hopefully there will be more to come that I can share in the future. So that's not the last time you will see Bridget, or probably hear from her. So thank you again for going along on that with me. So, wow, like I said, bittersweet. So we'll see where who knows where things will go next. Like I said, I'm interested in learning more about Quaker samplers. I don't know where I'll go with that, or if there'll be another sampler, historical one. Maybe some of the projects at Sampler Symposium I'll start in on. I don't know. So the beauty of finishing one thing is that it opens the door to something new. And so who knows what I'll be doing next in a sampler vein. So I just realized I didn't really talk about a couple of things that after my last video, there were a couple of questions I wanted to answer, or actually things we talked about that I want to talk about just a little bit more. We talked in my last video about white stitches and issues that people were having with white stitches. I got some great input from viewers that I wanted to share with you. So, and I'm just going to read them. I just printed them out. So I had somebody say that they have found 2 techniques for white stitches that help tremendously. Making sure the fabric has very tight tension, either in a hoop or on a frame, and using a laying tool, even with 1 strand. Now, I've never done anything with a laying tool. I've seen it on videos, so I know what she's talking about, but I don't know how or why. I'm just going to share that this person gets good results stitching white stitches by using a laying tool. And she uses something called a trolley needle. I don't know what that is, so maybe you do. Another person says that that people having issues with the coverage with DMC floss is that maybe a suggestion is to try DMC Floss. Now, I have heard of Floss. I have not seen it. I know it's thicker than regular DMC. And she says you can use 1 strand of this floss that gives you better coverage than the regular DMC. And then this person obviously has some knowledge of floss as a whole, and it's a longer comment, so I'm just going to read it. So here's a little of what I know, she says. White thread is actually a little thinner. During the process, making most threads are bleached out and then they're dyed. So for white, the process just stops there. The floss is bleached and then the process stops. So if the floss is going to be a color, then it's dyed again. So the saturation of color fills the fiber, the cotton fibers of the floss, and that makes it plump up. So second to that is that every time the thread goes through the dyeing process, especially if heat is involved, it more or less blows the fiber, plumps it up even a little bit more. So she believes that with overdyed or fancy floss, this is why a lot of time they also kind of shred easier. So I know sometimes they do. I mean, you have to use sometimes a shorter length of floss because it will just start to get fuzzy after it's been in and out of the holes of your fabric a few times. So, and that's because the integrity of the fiber has been compromised through the drying and heating process. So the best way around this is using shorter thread and gently moving the needle down when needed. Do not pull or tug. So that's not necessarily about white floss. It's just about floss as a whole, why some seems like it's plumper than others. And it would be if it has dye in it as opposed to just being white. So white floss is just cotton floss that has been bleached to become white. And then the dyeing process changes, of course, the texture and integrity of the cotton fiber. So thank you to all of you who shared that information with me. It was way more than I knew, and I wanted to be sure that I shared that with you all. So hopefully, oh, someone else, and I didn't print this one out, says that they used dinky dye silk floss for their white stitching, that they got better results using the dinky dye silk. They tried a lot of different flosses, and they just found that of any of them, the dinky dye silk gave them really good coverage and that they really were satisfied with their white stitches when they used dinky dye silk. So there's another tip for you. The Floss sounds like a good one, and dinky dye silk. And then otherwise, like I said before, we just have to accept it for what it is and let it be okay. So that's probably what I'll do. And the other thing that I wanted to share from that's still kind of a holdover from the last video is I wanted to thank those of you who gave me so many kind and supportive comments. If you stuck around to the end, I talked about the fact that I had breast cancer at one time in my life. It's nearly 25 years ago now. But I went on a healing journey after that, and it really changed my life in the way I approach healing and language. Words have power, and just the way I speak. And some of that got even more and more refined when I was teaching yoga, because you quickly learn when you're trying to get a room full of people to move in the same way, you have to speak pretty succinctly. And so that helped, affected, I guess I should say, not helped, affected kind of the language that I use. And I was talking about, at the end of that video, a book that I read during my healing journey from cancer and subsequent treatment. It was called Speak the Language of Healing. And I did research it now. It is still available. There are used copies out there. I'm going to put a picture up because I didn't have that last time. So that's Speak the Language of Healing. It's by 4 authors: Carol Osborne, Karen Stroop, Linda Quigley, and Susan Cooner. It was originally published in 1999, and December of 99 is when I was diagnosed with cancer, so it was out that same year. And like I said, still in print, or still available, maybe not in print, but available. And so I would imagine that any like medical information that might have been included in that book is going to be out of date now, because cancer treatment and the way it's approached is very different now than when I went through that experience. But the premise of the book about taking the combative and warlike language out of the process, that is still going to be 100% valid and true to this day. And I think it's especially true for women. We don't tend to speak in the same way that men do about our experiences. And, you know, sometimes you just need to approach something. Well, that's not right. What do I want to say? Cancer, when you get that diagnosis, or any serious illness for that matter, it doesn't have to be cancer, but it's a big deal. I mean, it's a life or death thing, can be a life or death thing. And however, what I learned through that process is that the way we talk about it and the way we approach it affects the way we get through it. And if you're not responding to medicine or treatment or whatever, you might feel like you're failing or that you're losing this battle. But you're not. You're just having a different experience. And something that I learned through that was that everybody's cancerous tumor is unique and individual, and everybody receives treatment in a unique and individual way. And that the body is always, always, always trying to heal whatever the thing is that is out of balance, whether it's a broken bone, a cut on your skin, a scrape, a bruise, something that's happening internally that you can't see on the outside. Once an imbalance, something is not right, once that's identified, the body is always trying to heal it. And so whether it's cancer or a scrape, the body's still doing what it's going to do. And it's the language that we use for the thing that makes it either a little wee thing or a big thing. But the body is still doing what it needs to do. So if we can take some of the bigness away from some of the things, it makes it more manageable as we move through it. And I'm not meaning to diminish anybody's experience of what they're going through. It's just what I came to learn as I went through the process that I went through. And maybe by sharing that, I'm also giving you maybe a different way that you could approach whatever is going on in your life, whether it's a physical thing or an emotional thing. The way we think about it and the way we speak about it, the words that we use affect our experience of them. So thanks for get off my soapbox on that now. So let's get back to some stitching, because I want to show you a couple of things. I've got, I already showed you my new start, but I want to show you, a little bit of haul. The Quaker sampler would be considered haul. And I got, I should have pulled this out of the plastic. My very last Color and Cotton Thread Club colors. These are the December Thread Club colors that I got. And let me tell you what they are. This is Fernwood, Candy Apple, Oasis, Biscotti. It's not as pink as it's looking here. That's a little bit better. And Secret Garden. And yeah, they've decided to discontinue their thread clubs. I mean, I don't blame them. That's a lot of work to put those together. And if you follow Color and Cotton on either their Instagram or you look at their website, they have some amazing flosses. They've got a huge wall of a rainbow of colors. I would probably go apoplectic if I walked into that store and saw all of them. They're beautiful colors. They've just decided that they want to maybe, you know, try some different things. They have different ideas of what they might want to do with their threads. And they've got a really broad collection of threads. And one thing that's nice about Color and Cotton colors is they've got a range, like within one particular color, they might have some, you know, a palette of just that color, a light medium, a medium dark, a medium, you know, dark. They've got a little palette and a range of just one color that makes working with them, you know, it's almost like painting with thread. So anyway, what I've decided to do, so next time I see you, I will have some more to show you, because what I've decided is I don't have nearly enough of their floss in my stash, because I like to have a variety of colors to be able to work with. And what I've decided to do is periodically, I'm not going to set a schedule or anything. I'm just going to make a random order of Color and Cotton flosses and start filling out my collection of them. I have an app on my phone, which I'm filming on. I can't remember it. I'll put it down here. It's basically a stash app. I can load in the linen colors that I have and all the different threads that I have. So it's basically keeping inventory for me. And so I always put these in after I show them to you. I'm going to enter them into that app, and then I'm going to put them, I keep all of my floss on rings, and they're hanging from a tie rack in a closet in my studio in there. So I will put all these in there, but after I enter them into that app. And so I've got an inventory of all the floss that I have. And so I'm just going to randomly open up the Color and Cotton website when the spirit strikes me and order a few things and then start filling out my collection of floss. And so you'll still see Color and Cotton colors, but just not with the regularity that I've been getting them over the last several months. So that's my Color and Cotton. And then I have a freebie chart to show you. This is coming from a woman named Carol Hodge. She's Carol X Stitch on Instagram, and I'm going to post it up here. Lizzie M. Davison, 1890. And this is a free chart downloadable from Carol's blog. And I will put, maybe I'll run the information down here. Sit up a little higher. Run the information here on screen. And then I'll also put information in the description box for this. It's a free chart. I've got the black and white version here because it's just downloadable PDF file. So generous of Carol to share that. It's a little red sampler, as you saw. It would be, for those of you who do a blessing sampler in January, hey, we're early enough in January, you could still start one. That might be a fun one for you. I have not got onto the blessing sampler bandwagon yet, maybe sometime in the future, but I wanted to tell you about that one because it was so generous of Carol to offer that to everybody for free. And then another thing that I was reminded of, I mentioned in my last video that I had been invited to a Friday night Zoom group. Hi, ladies. And I was with them last night. It's just a little private group, 6 people generally, and we just sit and stitch and talk for a couple of hours and see what everybody's doing and enable each other and just have a good time. That's where I've been working on that Barbara Anna light, by the way, why I've been getting so much done on that, because it's a good Zoom stitch. But last night somebody was saying, hey, I want to show you, Jackie, because I know you love alphabets. I want to show you this book I got for Christmas. This one right here. I already had it. It's called Vintage French Needlework. 300 Authentic Cross-Stitch Patterns by Veronique, probably Maillard. I have been meaning to show you guys, look, it's like an encyclopedia. I've been meaning to show you guys this book for ages, and I just haven't done it. I had it here a couple of times to show you, and the videos were also always running long, so I didn't. But there are charts in it, beautiful photography, but it's 300 different alphabets. So for those of you who like alphabets, you need this on your bookshelf. And as one of the gals in the call said last night, she just immediately texted her husband and she said, what a great Valentine's gift, right? Wink, wink. So there you go. Christmas is over, but there's always a holiday coming up that could work for. I first saw Nicola Parkman show this on one of her videos, and it was maybe late summer, maybe. And I immediately got it right from the publisher. Schiffer Publishing put this out, but it's available online in several places right now. So if you Google this, you will find it, and it's a very reasonable price for what it is. So Vintage French Needlework. You want this? You do. Okay. And then I have one more thing to show you. We have another stitch along coming up. Again, Sarah, Sarah. I'm starting to call her the queen of stitch alongs because she's spearheading this one. And this is something that is being done in a Facebook group that I belong to. And I know both she and I talk about this on our videos regularly. And a lot of you have joined the Facebook group just to be able to participate in this stitch along. And the Facebook group is called Across the Pond Stitch and Chat. It's a very nice group. There's not a lot of chitty chat going on. There is as much as you want to be involved in. But this will be our first stitch along as a group. And it starts January 10th. So this will be another new start the next time you see me. And we're doing this chart by Lottie Da, called One Stitch at a Time. And Sarah is, as I said, spearheading it. She has divided this up, I think, into 10 different parts as sort of like assignments. So again, she's tried to make it manageable so that you can incorporate it into your other stitchy schedule. And it has called for fancy flosses with 1 DMC. So I'm ready. And then I'm using, ooh, my fabric's not in here. I think I had it out to iron is what was going on. But I'm gonna use a fabric called Cow Fodder by Dames of the Needle. I was gonna show you this. I got it at Country Sampler, but you can't see anything from that. Cow Fodder by Dames of the Needle is what I'm gonna use. I'm doing mine on 40 count. There are people who are doing a variety of fabrics. Some people have, who are in Across the Pond, have been buying Swan Bay fabrics from our friend Marie, who is also one of the moderators of the Across the Pond group. We have a monthly Zoom get together in that group. It's just so wonderful to be able to connect with people around the world, because there are people from Australia and New Zealand, all sorts of countries in Europe. I think there's somebody from South Africa in the group, Ukraine, Switzerland, Germany. It's just a really cool thing to be part of. And if you're wanting to join again, want to join the Stitch Along, or even if you have that chart and want to just pull it out and stitch without being part of that group, you can. We're starting the Stitch Along on January 10th. And so that'll be coming up too. So I hope to see you over in the Across the Pond Stitch group. So that's really the end of what I have to share today. I'm pretty sure I'm going to check my notes because it seems like I'm always forgetting something. Oh, plans. Let me talk about plans because we're at the beginning of January. I'm not a person who makes resolutions in the conventional way. I do sometimes set intentions. But gosh, 2024 was such an exciting year for me, having joined this community, that my intention is just to continue to develop this channel and what I do here, and just share in as authentic a way as I can, because that's just part of who I am. And coming right up, as I mentioned, is Sampler Symposium. That's January 17th, 18th, and 19th. I'm looking forward to that and seeing so many of you down there and getting to meet more of you. I'm a little nervous, I have to say, because it's one thing to sit in my own living room and do these videos, because I don't know, I mean, you know, quite a few of you have subscribed to my channel, so I know there are people who watch. But being in a room with so many of you who are going to know who I am is a little intimidating, I gotta say. So, but I am looking forward to meeting you. So if you're there, I hope you will come and say hi. Some of you who have your own channels, I will know, and I'm certainly going to say hi to you. But if you're there and you don't have a channel, or you haven't, we haven't met yet, please do come and say hi. I would love to meet you. I do have plans, not anything concrete yet, but Gretchen from the shop Flora Legion here in Weston and I have talked about having more stitchy days. She enjoyed that. Probably not as much as I did, because she wasn't stitching. She had to work in her store, but she was coming in and out. And she just enjoys seeing people have a good time in her store, and people just getting together and in community and sharing the love of a hobby. It's inspiring, and it's wonderful to be a part of. So we're going to do that again. Hopefully sometime maybe in the very early spring. The winter weather can get iffy here for planning anything. So we'll see when that comes up. I'll be sure and let you know. Last time I just posted that on Instagram, but I wasn't sure how that would go. This time I'll let y'all know here too. So just in case anybody's around and wants to come, you can come to that. I do have something on the horizon that I need to learn some specialty stitches to do. So I'm on a couple of stitches I need to learn are Algerian eyelets and satin stitch, but I'm going to try some others too, just expand my knowledge. You know, I'm still, like I said, just coming back to this hobby early enough that I haven't learned some of that stuff yet. I'm still a youngster in this. So I need to learn Algerian eyelets and satin stitch for something that I hope to be able to share with you later on in the future. Way down the road in October, I had to apply for a passport for this, but I hope to travel to England. And because it's so close to Ireland, there may be a little side trip there. So that's what I'll say on that now, because I don't have my passport yet. I've had one in the past. I've been to Europe before, but I let my passport lapse. So I've got it applied for and just don't have it in my hot little hands yet. So that'll be fun too. So some fun stuff coming up. And I look forward to seeing what the year brings for all of us. So again, I just want to say thank you. I have said many times that I had no expectations when I first sat down and front of the camera for what was going to happen with this channel. It was just an opportunity for me to kind of record and chronicle what I was doing and some of the things that I've done art-wise over the course of my life, because I've been an artist in one way, shape, or form for most of my life. And the fact that so many of you listen to me and share with me the comments that you write, so thoughtful, I just am so grateful, really. And as we step into a new year, I'm looking forward to sharing everything that comes along with you. And I hope you'll continue to share with me too. So with that, I'm going to end today with just an Irish blessing. Still staying in the Irish vein, bringing the essence of Bridget back with us. I looked for an Irish blessing that would speak to the season, and this one specifically mentions solstice, but you know, that wasn't that far away. But we're in the winter time, and a lot of people think of New Year as the time when they are setting resolutions or intentions, and like it's the beginning of the year, but we're still deep into the winter season. We just got into this season. So something new really is still brewing and germinating and happening in our natural world. And so I'm going to read you this blessing that I think just speaks to where we are in the calendar year. So may you find peace in the promise of the solstice night, that each day forward is blessed with more light, that the cycle of nature, unbroken and true, brings faith to your soul and well-being to you. Rejoicing in the darkness, in the silence, find rest, and may the days that follow be abundantly blessed. Thank you again for being here with me today, and every time we sit down and share together. I feel very blessed to have you all here and to be able to spend this time with you. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks if you're going to be at Sampler Symposium or somewhere down the road a piece. Thank you. Many blessings to you. Namaste.